right, welcome guys. Happy Friday. We are here finally to close out the week. We got a nice 7-game slate to go over. So I hope you guys had a good night last night. For myself, cashing the low dollar tourneys and missed by one spot in the higher dollar, the $100 single entry. I had a low-owned Rozier and a low-owned Zion that both games blew out. If either of those games stay close, it's a really big night for me because I had a Spurs Pistons stack, but again, is what it is. Can't predict some of those. I mean, I knew like Zion, obviously that was a risk of the blowout, but I went with it anyway. All right, so let's go over what we know so far for this 7-game slate. We have Jaylen Brown out, Kemba Walker out, Robert Williams out. Why not tee it up? Just tee it up for the guy in second for me behind best ball. For best ball, he's got Jason Tatum playing basically no one. He's got Westbrook. Why not? And I got, Capella, brought me into a good chance, and now he's out for me. So it's just like, how much more of this can I take for best ball? It's just so frustrating. Kent Bazemore's out too for Golden State. We'll talk about that in a sec. KD is out for the Nets. Let's see. Some of the stuff is for Saturday. Mike James is available to play for the Nets. He's not in the player pool, I don't believe. I can confirm that, but I don't think he's in the player pool. Again, Capella out. Just put a knife in me. We'll talk about that, but yeah, I need to see who the Hawks start at the 5. Whether they move John Collins to the 5 or do they start Okongo at the 5. That kind of depends on, that'll sway who I have interest in. Right, if Okongo starts, I think he's a really good value play. If they start Collins, I think he's firmly in play in the mid range. And the Hornets, I just don't know what they're doing with PJ Washington. They play him like 30-plus minutes last couple games. Last night, he plays 13 minutes. And now they're starting him at the 5 against like a big front court. I have no idea. So we'll talk about that. But, yeah, and then obviously, again, Trae Young out. Daniel House will play out the bench. Okay. So taking a look at the Vegas odds really quick. Let's see. Do any stand out here? That Washington OKC game's at a 231.5 over under. Memphis and Portland's a 232 over under. Golden State and Denver is close to a 230 as well. So definitely some higher total games on this slate. All right. So real quick before I get into the team by team breakdown, if you guys could leave a like button if you're coming in. Again, that does help me out a lot. Let's try to aim for 100 likes in this live stream so we get more viewers in here. All right. So let's go. Oh, Rondo's out. Did we just get that news? Not huge, to be honest. Yeah, Rondo out. Yeah, doesn't do much. All right, so Miami and Atlanta. Honestly, even though it's a pretty decent spot here for the Miami Heat, there's not much here for me. Jimmy Butler, contrarian spend-up plays. I'm not really going to get to anyone else. I think we're still waiting on Hero news, or he will play. It's just, there's no one really here that's a priority for me. If you land on Jimmy Butler, I could see getting to Jimmy Butler. The reason I could see it, small forward is a wasteland today, and he is one of the only viable spend ups at small forward. He's a good matchup. So yes, he's slightly overpriced, but because the position is so weak, I could see getting to him for that reason alone. On the Atlanta side, again, I need to see what they do with the starting lineup. So obviously no Capella. We're still waiting on Gallinari too. If Okongo starts at 3.1K, I think he becomes one of the better value plays of the slate. Sure, it's not a good matchup, but I would expect probably at least mid-20s minutes from him. So, yeah, if Okongo starts, really like him. If they move John Collins to the 5, then he becomes in play. I don't love the price, and they've kind of been taking it easy on his minutes since he returned from injury 3 games ago. So, keep an eye on this. If there's no limit for Collins and he starts at the 5, I think he's firmly in play in the mid-range. Now we're going to talk about the clear value in Brandon Goodwin. Don't get cute here, right? The 2 games that Trae Young's missed, 37 and 37. Assuming he starts, he's a clear value play in the slate. Lou Williams at 4-3 off the bench I think is intriguing. I think he's going a little bit overlooked. I expect probably somewhere around 25-ish minutes from him. They're going to need more offense. Obviously, no Trae Young, no Capella. So Lou Williams, I kind of like as a lower-owned value play. I think is going, again, overlooked in this one. And then Bogdan, I do like playing Bogdan Bogdanovic, but almost 8K, it feels just maybe priced about right or slightly overpriced. So yes, he'll probably be him and Collins will probably be the number 1 and number 2 on offense. I just don't really want to pay that price point for him. So Boston and Brooklyn. And a lot of the guys out for Boston. So Jason Tatum, I think looks like a really good option. Last couple games, he shot 3 of 17 and 3 of 17, and has gone for 48 and 40 fantasy points in those games. So Don't get DK going about John Wall. We'll talk about John Wall. I actually do like him a lot in the slate. Yeah, but Jason Tatum, I think, is one of the better spend ups. I don't think he's going to continue to shoot 15% from the field. So great matchup. They're missing everyone. I think Tatum, even at that price, does look like a pretty good option. Now, I want to see who else Boston starts. They said Fournier's going to play off the bench and be limited. 20-ish? Yeah, low 20s. So don't really have interest in Fournier. Like Marcus Smart, I think, becomes a pretty good play in the mid-range. He's probably going to man the point guard a good amount and should play 35-ish minutes. I like him. And possibly, does Peyton Pritchard start too? Maybe. So if Pritchard starts, I think he's someone we could at least consider for value. Tristan Thompson also should get over 30 minutes. He's played 33 and 34 the last couple games. I think he's a fair play below 5K. I don't think I can stomach anything else, though, on the Celtics. So I think, Tatum at the top looks like a pretty good option. I think Marcus Smart in the mid-range should play big minutes and obviously gets a usage boost without basically everyone else. And then Thompson's a fair value. Pritchard, if he starts, is in play. And that's probably, I will mention, I guess, Jabari Parker as a dart throw for tournaments. He's been playing about 15 minutes. What we know with Jabari Parker, he's actually a good offensive player. And again, Boston's missing a ton of guys. Maybe there's an outside chance he starts. If he doesn't start, again, just a dart throw in GPPs. All right, Brooklyn. So no Kevin Durant. Kyrie Irving at the top, I think, is a good spend up. It's not necessarily the best matchup. It is a revenge game, though, and he should, again, be a very, very high usage guy. So Kyrie, I do like. It's nice that he's shooting guard eligible, too. So like Kyrie at the top. Other plays on Brooklyn, all kind of secondary plays. Unless DeAndre Jordan starts the 5. If DeAndre Jordan starts the 5, I think he's someone you could look to for value. He played 29 minutes the last game, but only 21 there against the Pelicans. So I think we get somewhere around mid-20s minutes from him, which, again, below 4K would make him in play. The rest, and that's Jeff Green, Bruce Brown, Shamet, playable, but they said Mike James is going to get run. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Mike James. He's played overseas a good amount. He's actually a solid offensive player. So if he does play, I expect him to get a little bit of usage. So I don't know if I get to anyone else on Brooklyn. I think it's Kyrie and maybe DeAndre Jordan if he does start. All right, so let's see where we're at. Any more news here? So, okay, Lou Dort will start. He's in. So Maladon, Dort, Pokusevski, Baisley, Brown. All right, so John Wall, Amari Brooks is starting. Tate, Olynyk, and Wood. We'll get to that game, but yeah, I really like John Wall today for tournaments. All right, Cleveland, Charlotte. So Cleveland, when they're fully healthy, it's a team that it's hard to prioritize anyone. I do think if I was going to play one guy from Cleveland, it probably would be Darius Garland at 6.8K. The issue is not that he's a bad play at this price. It's the opportunity cost of playing him over some other point guards in the slate. We have Westbrook at the top. We have Goodwin that's a clear value, assuming he starts. We have some really good point guard plays in the mid-range that I think are going a little bit overlooked in Ja Morant, John Wall. I just would rather have those guys than Darius Garland. I'm not going to get to him. I'm basically crossing off Cleveland. On the Charlotte side, Peach Washington is starting. I don't know. I mean, you can take a shot on him. I have no idea what his minutes going to be after only playing 13 the last game. He is starting, which, again, is a good sign, but he's also prone to foul trouble. Yeah, he's playable, but I don't think I'm going to do it on the 7-game slate. Rozier, worth a look in tournaments. He's going to go super low owned. Again, got hurt because of the blowout last game, but he's been a super high usage guy. I think he's a viable contrarian spend up. I don't know if I get to anyone else, though, on Charlotte. All right, Clippers and Rockets. So Paul George, I think, is one of the best plays of the slate. Fantastic matchup. The only thing you have to worry about here is potential blowout. Right, Houston is not great, but the Clippers are missing Kawhi, which I think gives the Rockets a better chance to keep this game close. So Paul George, as long as the game stays competitive, I think is one of the best plays on this slate. Everyone else in the Clippers, kind of just secondary options. Marcus Morris, priced up a little bit from last game. Reggie Jackson, probably gets 25 to 30 minutes, a fair play because it's a good matchup. Zubac at 5.4. The minutes, he did play 30 through the last game. Playable at that spot, but I think I prefer other centers, and I don't know if I get to anyone else. Kennard, man, kind of priced up from the last game. That's probably it for me. All right, the Houston Rockets. So, kind of mentioned it. John Wall, 7.5K. I think he's a really, really good tournament play. Now, do I touch John Wall in cash games? Probably not, because, potential for a blowout. And, just the fact that he still had some off games. But he's a super high usage guy, right? And if in competitive games, he should play 35 plus minutes. There's no Kevin Porter Jr. I know the match is not necessarily the best, but it's a price point plus usage thing for John Wall. I really like him for GPPs. Now, Wood, Kelly Olynyk at their respective prices. I don't think I get to Kelly O. Wood, I think you can make the argument for because he's power forward eligible for GPPs, but Wall's really the guy I'm looking to. Jason Tate just seems priced about right. Again, House will play out the bench. Don't really have a ton of interest there. Amani Brooks is starting at 3.6. Not a super high usage guy. Did get extended a bit because of the blowout. I think we probably get around 20-25 minutes from him in the starting lineup. Maybe a little bit more, which does make him viable, but I would rather get to Goodwin over a guy like Amani Brooks. All right, so we're about halfway through. We're at, guys, 300 viewers and 70 likes. If you could hit that like button, it does help me out a ton. We got some Wizards starters. All right, so let's go over that. Let's refresh. Is Neto still in the starting lineup? Let's see. Yep, so Isaac Bonga. Really? Isaac Bonga starting? Well, let's go over this. So, for Washington, Russell Westbrook, one of the best plays of the slate. I personally, again, for basketball, I'm praying for a blowout here because if this game stays close, Westbrook is probably going to crush here. Thunder are a terrible defensive team. They can't stop anyone. Yes, Lou Dort is in. He's a solid defender, but that's not going to scare me off Russell Westbrook. He shot 5 of 18 and 5 of 17 the last couple games, and it's gone for 60 in each of those games. What happens when he has a half-decent shooting game like he did here against New Orleans or he did against Sacramento? 70, right? 70 plus is the upside for Westbrook. So one of the best plays of the slate, in my opinion. The only thing I think you have to worry about here is potential for a blowout. The Thunder team is god-awful. It is a 9-point spread. I think that's something you at least got to have in the back of your mind. Westbrook is going to be chalk. You can get different by fading him, but it is a super risky fading Westbrook against the Thunder. I will say that. You can do it. I personally am. I am so scared about it, but it's viable. It's just, again, if the game stays close, I'm probably going to lose. Now, Bradley Beal at 9.6K, viable for GPPs. So what we got to think about is, okay, Westbrook, he's going to be popular, right? He's going to be one of the top, if not the highest owned players on the slate. That makes Brad Beal, I think, a good contrarian play. If something happens to Westbrook, maybe like early foul trouble or something random like that, you could see a pretty big game from Beal. Now, I don't love the price and definitely not a cash game play, but something you could at least consider for GPPs. Yeah, Isaac Bonga, no, I can't even play him even though he's starting. He's such a low usage guy. He'll probably play 15, 20 minutes. I'm not touching Isaac Bonga. There are a couple, though, viable value plays we got to talk about for Washington. Washington, normally a team I kind of avoid. Let's start with Davis Bertans off the bench at 4.3K. So 28, 30 minutes last game. I'm expecting similar run, which is about 30 minutes. The issue with Davis Bertans is the floor is low if he's not hitting his shots, right? Kind of like we saw against Golden State 5 games ago, 27 minutes, 12 fancy points. That is possible for Bertans. But he can also go for 30 if he is hitting his shots. He should have a lot of open looks. Thunder are terrible defensively. So Bertans I have interest in. Only concern is he's very reliant on the scoring. I think Daniel Gafford is a really sneaky tournament play, value play on this slate that is going to go overlooked because there's a lot of value at center. Don't completely rule out Gafford. He played 24 minutes in a game that did not go to overtime. So the worry with Gafford since he's joined the Wizards is just the minutes, right? He's been playing 15 to 16 minutes a game. He played 24 at that last game against Golden State and went for 40. So Gafford, I think, is a good tournament play that's going to be low owned. And if he gets 24, 25 minutes again, he could have a really, really big game. And then last guy we got to talk about is Raul Neto. He started last game and played 36 minutes. Will we get 36 minutes again from him? Not convinced. But if we get 30 plus at basically min price, I think he does make for a pretty good value play. All right, Thunder. So Lou Dort is in. That kind of takes everyone else to the Thunder out of play for me. Lou Dort himself is for sure playable for tournaments. Last year games, 65, 44, and 41 fancy points. He's been shooting out of his mind. So if you want to take a shot in Dort for GPPs, you can. I don't know if I get to anyone else, though, on the Thunder. Like, Svi Mikhailiuk started that last game and played 36 minutes. Again, he's not in the starting lineup, right? Yeah, he's not. Dort is starting at the 2. So it's just one where I'm probably going to stay away from the Thunder with Dort. And Dort would be probably the only guy I get to, but only for GPPs. All right, so Denver and Golden State. Nikola Jokic at 10.9K. Definitely in play at the top. I don't think he's going to be that popular. The reason I say that is there's a lot of good plays at center, and the opportunity cost of playing Jokic over, say, a guy like Westbrook as a spend up is, in my opinion, probably not worth it because there's so many good, there's a couple good mid-range centers. There's a few good value centers. So Jokic, for that reason, is going to go lower owned, which I think makes him a good tournament play. So a low-owned Jokic, against Golden State, sign me up. So do kind of like Jokic for GPPs. MPJ a little bit too pricey. Barton playable in the mid-range. He's been up and down. He does have some upside, but consistency has not been there for Will Barton. Like Rivers played last game. That kind of hurts Campazzo. Dozier did still play over 20. He played 25. Playable value play, but I think I prefer other options than the slate, and that is it. Golden State. Steph Curry was the chalk last slate. I warned people. I was like, hey, he's not going to continue to shoot 60, 70% from the field. And when he does have a bad shooting game, he's probably going to go for like 35 fantasy points. And sure enough, bad shooting game, 38 fantasy points. So after he burned a ton of people, right, he was like 50+% owned on a 12-game slate. That was insane. That was such, like at 50% owned that last slate, Steph Curry was an awful play. I couldn't believe he was that high owned. But, after he burned so many people, he's going to be virtually unowned. And I agree, he probably should be. Like, if you're playing Steph Curry over Westbrook, it's definitely suboptimal. But, again, crazy things can happen, right? Westbrook, it could be a blowout. Maybe early, I guess anything weird could happen. And Steph Curry is going to be, 5% owned on this slate. So, again, for that reason, I think he's an interesting GPP play after he burned so many people, and no one's going to play him today. Now, and I will say, it always seems like Steph Curry goes off when no one plays him. Like, when no one's considering Steph Curry, that's when he has his big game. So, yeah, maybe it is. At his super low ownership tonight, I think Steph Curry will be. All right, so Kent Bazemore's out, too, for Golden State, which is actually pretty significant. He played 35 minutes the last game. I'm assuming Kelly Oubre moves into the starting lineup. Wiggins himself, probably not going to get to him. Oubre is below 6K. The issue I have with Oubre is he still has a pretty low floor. Like, he's just been so inconsistent this year. The upside is there, and small forward is super weak today. So I think Oubre is at least in consideration. I will still mention Draymond Green. I know he's been bad recently. I think the upside is still there. Again, not really the best matchup, but those two I think are at least playable. And then Kevon Looney's at 3.9, another value center that is in play. Should get around 30 minutes. The only option really to defend Nikola Jokic. And then, does Jordan Poole play more with no Bazemore? Possibly. So I think he's worth a look as a contrarian value play. He's super reliant in the scoring, but he is a good shooter, and he's not afraid to shoot the ball when he's getting it going. Okay, one game left. Let's see. Do I have any more news here? Gallinari in for the Hawks. Okay, so I want to see what they do with the starting lineup. Again, we don't have that yet, so it's a little bit hard to say. All right, so finish up with Memphis and Portland. I mean, you guys know where I'm going here, right? John Morant, absolutely love him for tournaments. I don't know if he's going to be super popular. Fantastic matchup with no Jonas Valanciunas. Gets a massive usage bump. I do really like Ja at this price. I know he's been up and down this year, but we saw 2 games ago, right? He had a massive game in a tough match against Denver, so I do like Ja a good amount there. Triple J is too expensive for me. No on Slow-Mo, no on Brooks. Xavier Tillman, if he starts again at the center, is playable. The issue is, again, there's so many good center plays on the slate, and Triple J is there as well. It's basically Ja for me, and that's it. Like, the value, I just prefer other value on the slate, so I don't know if I'm going to get to a Desmond Bane. Like, Clark, yeah, he's at 3.9. He'll play about 20 to 22 minutes. I just don't know if I have to go there. All right, and finally, Portland. So the top 2 guards in Lillard and CJ, both viable, I would say, contrarian options. I would rather get 2 other guards at their respective prices. Norman Powell, too reliant on scoring for me. The guy I really like is my boy, Yusuf Nurkic. He played 29 minutes the last game and went for 27 fantasy points. If we're going to get similar minutes of close to 30 for Yusuf Nurkic, I think he's one of the best plays in the mid-range. Now, I do think he's going to be popular, but I like the matchup against like Tillman or Triple J, whoever they try to throw on him. I think Nurkic is a pretty good player. So, I think he is a really solid play in the mid-range. I don't think I get to anyone else, though, on Portland. Obviously, Simon's out of play with Lillard back. Cantor's not playable with Nurkic playing more, so that is where I'm at for the 7-game slate. So let's get to some questions, guys. One more time. Let's see. Any more updates? Do we have a Hawks starting lineup yet? No. All right. So throw some questions in the chat. Fade Mon Green. Yeah, he's not been good at all. Taking a chance with Curry. Yeah, Curry's he's gonna be like super low owned. So give me one player for value for this position. Shooting guards, so basically anything but point guard. You have those value centers, right? Okongo, obviously, if he starts. 6.4K for forward and below. Already have Oubre and Herter. Again, four is ugly. It is ugly today. I do not like the forward position. That's why I think, like, getting to, like, Tatum or Jimmy Butler might make some sense. There's really no one I have confidence in here. I think you can play PJ Washington. Again, I don't know how many minutes he plays. Baisley playable as well, but don't like him as much with Dort in. It's kind of just a bad, Nurkic for sure, guaranteed get injured. Westbrook or Kyrie, the spot is better for Westbrook, so I think he's the slightly more optimal play, but I do like Kyrie for GBPs. Is Tatum a must? No, but like I said, forward is weak. So it's like, you got like Tatum and Butler at the top, and then you just have a bunch of like subpar plays. It's kind of gross. Yeah, Kyrie or Curry. I think it's got to be Kyrie. Wall and Ja, I like them both for tournaments. A good amount. Not sure again on my final build. I'm waiting for Hawks news. Thoughts on Bogdanovich? A little bit pricey for me. You can take a shot at him for GPPs. But John Collins is there too now in the offense, which is a higher usage guy. Gallinari in too. I think he's a little bit overpriced. Ja, Kyrie, Pokusevski, Tatum, Gafford, Goodwin, Green, and Nurkic. Pokusevski more of a secondary play, Dort in, but not completely out of play. Jeff Green, again, those two are like secondary options. I like everything else in your build. Tatum, Kyrie, and Morant for tourney spend ups. I'm good with it. Yeah, again, I haven't fully built my lineup yet. I'm still waiting on Hawks news, like who starts. Is fading Goodwin a bad idea? Yeah, if he starts, I would not fade him. Thoughts on TLC? Not for me. Slow-mo? Probably not for me. Dort? You can play Dort. He's been phenomenal recently. I think he's still more of a GBP play. Gafford, DJ? That's a tough one. I think DJ, if he starts, is slightly safer. But Gafford's the guy I prefer in tournaments because if the minutes are there, if he plays over 20, he's a much better point per minute guy. How good a play is Jimmy tonight? Honestly, not that good of a play. The only reason I think he's viable is because forward is so weak. Yeah, Tatum or Butler, give me Tatum. With everyone out for Boston in a great matchup, it's got to be Tatum there. Gallinari, sneaky forward play if he starts. What's his price at? I wasn't obviously really considering him. My worry is that they're going to limit him. He's missed the last few games. This is a tough matchup. Yeah, he's missed like the last couple weeks. I don't think he plays a ton, so I'm probably not going to get to Gallinari. I think it's a little bit too contrarian for me on this one. Best value center, I think Okongo, if he starts, is probably where you can look. Rozier or Bam or Wood? Of those three, it's probably Bam, but again, I like other centers on the slate. Thoughts on PJ Dozier? Playable. I prefer other value on the slate, but I think he gets over 20 minutes and is below 4K. Baisley, Okongo, and Herter or Gafford, Collins, and Bertans. It depends on who starts for Atlanta, right? So if Okongo starts, I like him more. If John Collins starts and Okongo does not, then I'm not going to play Okongo. So it just depends on who they start. So a little bit hard to say at the moment. Yeah, Dort or Collins. If John Collins starts at the 5, I think I slightly prefer him to Dort. Do you like Tatum, Jokic, Paul George, and Nurk with the rest of the way? Yeah, I think those three are good spend-ups. I think Jokic will be low-owned because of position. Paul George, I think, is one of the best plays in the slate, as well as Nurkic. And then Tatum is also a good spend-up because forward is so weak. Wall or Ja? If I had to pick, give me Ja. I like the matchup a little bit better, but I like both a good amount. DK for president. Appreciate that, Anchor. Ja and Wall, bad. No, I think you can play both. They're more contrarian. Like Wall for sure is contrarian. I think John Morant you could go to in either format. But yeah, those are two I like for GPPs. I think optimal build wise, it's probably a stars and scrubs, right? So you probably get Westbrook, you probably get one of the forwards. I would say lean to Tatum because there's a lot of good value. We have Goodwin, we have Neto, we have some of the value centers. It makes it easier to get to those guys. So I think optimal build wise is probably more the stars and scrubs. But I do kind of like a little bit more of a balanced build for GPPs to differentiate myself. Favorite fade. Oof. I don't know. I'm trying to think of someone that's going to be popular that I'm probably not going to get to. I don't know if I have one. Right? Because Westbrook's a guy that I'm personally fading, but that's just because I'm getting super constrained tonight and I'm scared out of my mind. Like, if the Thunder keep that game close, I basically lose. That's what happens. So I don't really have an answer for that. Any love for MPJ? A little bit pricey. Not completely out of play, but secondary option. If Collins is at the 4, is he still a must? No, I don't like Collins as much at the 4. And it'll also he hasn't played more than 30 minutes since he's returned. Value besides Goodwin, it depends on who the Hawks start. I think if Okongwu starts, I think he's a pretty good value play. I think Neto is starting. He's a solid value. Bertans and Gafford off the bench for Washington are playable. Fade Tatum in high-end single entry. I am to differentiate myself. I think the chalk build is going to be Westbrook and Tatum. That's my guess. Again, guys, I never look at ownership, but based on just kind of what we have on the slate with value, I'm guessing it's going to be Westbrook Tatum as the chalk spend ups. Could be wrong, but that's my guess. Jokic or Westbrook. And that's just because of position, right? There's a lot of good plays at center. No thank you on Solomon Hill. Yeah, I think Okongwu will be a guy I'll for sure try to get in if he does start. Any love for Smart? Yeah, I do like Marcus Smart. I think Marcus Smart, it also depends do we have a Boston starting lineup yet? If he starts the point guard, that does give a slight, a bigger boost to him. I think they could also start, though, Peyton Pritchard. Pritchard's a viable value play. If he starts, that's another value. We're waiting on some starting lineups right now. But yeah, I do like Marcus Smart. I think everyone's going to flock to Tatum, but you can get to Smart if you can't get Jason Tatum in your lineup. Pritchard, Irving, Oubre, Tatum, Nurkic, Goodwin, Bertans, and Murray. I have no issue with that. Yeah, assuming Pritchard starts, I think he's a good value. Tristan Thompson, playable. I prefer other centers. So, he's at he's almost identical price as Yusuf Nurkic. I would rather have 30 minutes of Nurkic than 30 minutes of Tristan Thompson. Clipper starters are out. Okay, so what? I'm guessing normal, like Reggie, Morris, PG. I don't see it yet. Maybe Fantasy Lab's a little bit slow. Okongwu or Nurkic, different. Well, Okongwu, Jordan, Thompson, or Nurkic. I mean, they're in different price ranges. So I think it's Nurkic over Thompson for me at a similar price, and Okongwu over Jordan if he starts. If Okongwu doesn't start, then it's Jordan over Okongwu. I don't think I play. I think playing. I mean, Bonga's had a couple good games, but he's normally a very low usage guy. I just wouldn't do it. Better revenge game for the price for Westbrook or Kyrie. I think Westbrook's in the better matchup, so I think it's got to be Westbrook, but I do still like Kyrie as a contrarian spend up. I think he'll go a little bit overlooked. I'm scared no playing Okongwu if he's safe play enough starts on 4. Okay, no complaints start. Let's see. Would you play Oubre? He's a secondary option for me. Forward is weak, so he's at least in consideration. Probably plays 35-ish minutes. It's not the best matchup, but yeah, he's definitely in play. Jeff Green and Pokusevski or Oubre and Bertans. Yeah, it's probably Oubre, Bertans there for me. Thoughts on Goodwin? Goodwin, Neto, Barton, Tatum, Thompson, Westbrook, Bazley, and Nurkic. I'm okay with it. It's a little bit contrarian. Thompson, I don't love, but again, playable, and Bazley also secondary option for me. Nah, I'm not really going to get to Solomon Hill. Man or Reggie Jackson. It would be Reggie of the two. But I think both are secondary plays. Dort and Draymond or Jimmy and Dozier. Yeah, that's a tough one. I think probably Jimmy and Dozier is a little bit safer. And just hope Dozier gets you 15 to 20. Cody Martin, is he starting? Sorry, I kind of glossed over that. The starters. So I saw PJ was starting. Let's see. Where is that starting lineup? He is starting. I would rather get to other value on the slate. Jokic, I like him as a contrarian play. I think because of position, he'll be low owned. DeAndre Jordan or Tristan Thompson. I think, if DeAndre Jordan starts, probably prefer him point per dollar. Goodwin, George, Batum, Tatum, Okongo, Morant, Bertans, and Wall. I'm not really looking to Batum, honestly, on the slate. To every point, Westbrook, I'm going up. It's like you could not tee this guy up better. First, I have Capella out. I have no one that can catch him. So, I'm stuck with a 0 for today for Capella. Second, this guy is Westbrook in second and Jason Tatum with everyone out for Boston in a smash matchup. It's like you just cannot give this guy the win. So tilting. So, yeah, I'm going to be sweating big time. I need a floor game from Westbrook and Tatum today. It's probably not going to happen. Small forward, again, I think it just go with what works, honestly. I think, Butler is playable just because small forward is so weak. Mid-range, and you got Oubre, Barton, Pokuševski, viable. It is not good. Cody Martin starting. I don't know if I could pull the trigger there. It is a really bad position. Dozier probably gets around 25 minutes. Yeah, it's not good. It's not a position that anyone likes, I think. Do you like Man? Not for me on this one. Triple J, Dort, Draymond, or Collins. So I wouldn't play Triple J on a minutes limit. I think Collins is probably the guy if he starts at the 5. Westbrook, Neto, Beal, Tatum, Okongo, Goodwin, Bertans, and Nurkic. Just contrarian. So you're playing both Westbrook and Beal. See, I don't know if that makes sense, though. I don't know if that makes sense. You're playing Westbrook, Neto, and Beal, and you have no Thunder. I don't know if I play Westbrook. If I'm playing Westbrook and Beal, I'm probably running it back with someone in OKC and just hoping that game is a shootout. Goodwin, Kyrie, Oubre, Tatum, Gafford, Ja, Bertans, Nurkic. It's a riskier build for sure, but I like it. I like the upside on it. Again, Gafford, things go well. Kyrie, I think, will go a little bit overlooked. Yeah, small forward is ugly. Westbrook or Paul George. Point per dollar, actually give me Paul George, but I think they're two of the best spend ups of the slate. Also, yeah, Paul George. So I forgot about that. So I think Westbrook, Paul George, and Tatum are probably going to be the optimal spend ups. I would say actually Westbrook and Paul George first, then maybe Tatum. I don't know why I just completely blanked on Paul George. Yeah, Kyrie or PG. I'll go PG just because I like the matchup a little bit better. But both I think are good plays. Thompson and Kennard. I wouldn't play Kennard in this slate or Gallinari and Tillman. I don't think I don't like either option. Gallinari is going to be most likely on a limit, so I don't think I get to either. Any love for Marcus Morris? Not really at his price. Gafford or Okongo if he starts. So I think Okongo is safer. I do like Gafford, though, a lot for GPPs. The issue is the minutes, right? Len starting at 3,100, just not seeing enough minutes for me. Wood or Porter Jr., Wood of those two. Wall's in. Yeah, Wall's in today and out tomorrow. Yeah. All right, guys. Let's see. Do we have any more news? So Heat are starting. Nunn, Butler, Robinson, Ariza, and Bam. That's basically what we thought. So that's going to do it for me. Just keep an eye on the Atlanta starting lineup, right? I'm assuming Goodwin starts. If Okongo starts, obviously he becomes a good value. If John Collins starts at the 5 instead, then John Collins looks like a pretty good play. So just monitor that and who Atlanta starts. We should get that somewhat soon. But I am going to have to go stream for Patreon. So good luck to everyone. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. And I'll see you guys back here tomorrow for another live stream. And thank you for getting me over 100 likes. We had 109 likes. Thanks again, guys. And I'll see you again later.